My name is Barry Melton, and you're standing in front of the fabulous saloon. This is the location where Fish and Chip, otherwise known as the Barry Melton John Cipollina Band, played many's the night between the years 1982 and the late 80s, 1988 or so. Right before John died, this is the last place we played together. I first met John in 1965. I was working in Berkeley at the time in a place called the Jabberwock, which was a small nightclub. At that time, I was an acoustic folk jug band musician, and John had this band over in Marin County called Quicksilver Messenger Service with Jimmy Murray and Dave Freiberg and those guys. And they came over and they played the Jabberwock a couple of times. One time I remember particularly is we played a gig with Michael McClure, where Michael lost his boa constrictor in the club and they never found it again. And Quicksilver was on the bill that night. I think we were playing for some strange cause, and John was kind enough to be my guide the first time I played electric music with Country Joe and the Fish. We went over to Marin County and played the Fairfax Pavilion. I think it was 1966, and John was my Marin County guide, my kind of like key to the city over there, and took care of my scene and my action and stuff like that. Of course, I have a lot of memories of John rehearsing at the heliport in Marin County back when he used to fly helicopters over from Sausalito to San Francisco. We used to be able to make the fast commute that way. And Quicksilver had a permanent place at the heliport in a sort of flat space all off by themselves. And us, Country Joe and the Fish, the Grateful Dead, and the Sons of Champlin, and the rest of the Slavs had little rooms up in the heliport. We didn't have our own private suite like Quicksilver. They owned the heliport, and John was kind of like the head of the gang, you know. But John was a funny guy, and always fun to be around. Never took himself seriously, which was his saving grace. I think one of the reasons why we got along well is because I don't take myself seriously. Thank God. And you know, these are important times for levity.
Now, how would you say the Dinosaurs came back together? You guys have been playing together, and it's the 1980s. 1984 is sort of on the brink.
Well, actually, Dinosaurs started in summer of 1982. It's been almost 9 years. Spencer and Peter and I, Spencer Dryden, Peter Alvin, and myself were playing as a trio out near the Russian River. And some guy wanted to hear some modern pop tune or something like that, and I said, oh God, we can't do that, man, we're just a bunch of dinosaurs. And we decided the name would be good. We gave up John because we called up John because we knew John would do anything. And sure enough, he showed up with us that first night, I guess. We played the old Waldorf here in San Francisco, and Bob Hunter writes songs for the Grateful Dead, jumped up on stage, started playing harmonica, and with Ammo we had a band. Went on that way for about 3-4 years till Hunter decided to rack up his public career, and Merle Saunders came and replaced him. And we worked the next 4 or 5 years with Merle until John's departure. But a good man. John was, he had a sense of humor. Like I say, a sense of humor. That's what's important.
What's one of the funniest things you can remember of John? What was the funniest incident?
Funny incident? About 7,000 of them. But I remember one time, I guess it was around, 1974 or 5, both John and I were being British rock stars at the same time. We were over playing this place called the Roundhouse in London, and John was playing with this band called the Man Band, And I was working with a pickup band out of England, and I was under some constraint because my band knew less of my material than John's band knew of his, and I just remember tripping around London with John and having a great time over there. You know, a lot of British guitar players, particularly there was this kid from this band called Dire Straits that used to be managed by the same guy who was booking us, this guy named Phil Banfield over in London. This guy worshipped John, and when I heard the first Dire Straits single, Sultan of Swing, I think it was so obvious, you know, that it sounded just like Cipollina, only it wasn't. It was this kid, Mark Knopfler, I think, who you know, kind of like really so treasured and was so into John's style. I mean, it really sounds a lot like him on that thing. John had a real influence across Europe, across the United States on a lot of young musicians.
What was it like touring with John?
Oh, John was always a riot, man. He was always the last to go to bed and the last to wake up. And you never knew who he'd wake up with. Guy was in one kind of trouble or another all the time. And what a racking tour, man. And boy, John could keep people spellbound with stories for hours and hours and hours and hours. And you could never get him to stop. It was always funny, it was always different. Kind of like his guitar playing, you know, always funny and always different. That's why he was fun to play with.
How would you describe this type of music, you know, so unique?
Well, John Cipollina music. I don't know. Well, what can I say?
What was it like playing here at the Cipollina, for instance? You guys play here every other week.
Oh, well, the Saloon is real. Saloon's a real place. This place has been here since 1861, and we're not the first generation of guys to play here, nor the last. It's probably one of the oldest riot scenes in the city, so I hope it goes on long after I'm gone.
All right.
All right.
You can start out.